Hello and welcome to Allegedly Astrology. Each week, we break down the astrology that happened during some of the biggest scandals and events in history.
Thanks so much to everyone for listening to our show. And if you want to support us, you can leave a 5-star review and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on.
And if you do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and DM us a screenshot of that review, we'll make you a custom meme of your Big Three and send you a quick write-up about it.
We also have a very cool and exclusive Patreon. So if you want more awesome astrology content, join us at patreon.com/allegedlyastrology.
Follow us on social media. We're Allegedly Astrology on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and Allegedly Astro on Twitter. You can also visit our website, allegedlyastrology.com, to book a reading with Dana, learn more about us, and look at the charts and transcripts for select episodes.
So, Dana, with that, I know we're talking about something you're extra excited about today.
Yeah, well, I've been planning this since July. Today we're talking about Tim Walz.
Yes, Tim Walz, aka Dana's guy, is the Democratic nominee for vice president. He is Minnesota's 41st governor, and he was first elected governor in 2018 and was reelected in 2022. He is described as having both moderate and progressive policy stances. He's having a moment because he called Trump weird in an interview that went viral. And then he was kind of labeled as like the cool dad online. He does a lot of videos with his like 20-something-year-old daughter. And he's really seemingly beloved by young voters. And it's really dominated the Democratic Party during this election cycle. Dana would text us about Tim Walz all the time. And Sarah and I were kind of like, cool, Dana, cool. Glad he's enthusiastic. But honestly, that was kind of it. And then we saw how the whole internet rallied around Tim. We were like, Dana was right. Dana was right.
Even when they were trying to pick the final hour, I texted you guys because I realized that I won't give it away.
We won't give it away, but let's learn a little bit more about him and his astrology.
So growing up, Tim's mom was a homemaker and his dad was a teacher and a school superintendent. He was born in a small town in rural Nebraska. He has 3 siblings. Growing up, he played football and basketball and ran track. So real athletic dude.
Yeah. Was George Bush the last jock in president? He was a cheerleader. I feel like George Bush was the last jock in office.
Oh,
I mean, Obama's pretty athletic, but maybe I'm just confused because he was just young and we haven't had a young president in so long.
Sure.
Yeah, it's true. But sadly for Tim, his dad died when he was pretty young. I think he was just in high school or like just starting college. But then he did go to college and was like, I got to get a degree, bro.
So Tim then enlists in the Army National Guard. And while there, he graduates with a social science degree. And then he teaches abroad and comes home to serve full time in the Army National Guard. And then he follows in his father's footsteps. And he eventually takes a high school teaching and coaching position.
And while he's working at the school, he meets his wife, Gwen, who's also a teacher there.
They're so wholesome.
I know. He's a geography teacher and a football coach. And a little fun fact is that he's pretty good at coaching. He was the defensive coordinator. And before he started, the team had lost 27 straight games.
Woo!
But then 3 years later, the team won its first state championship.
Hell yeah.
That's what he needs to do for America. Wow.
Yeah, in 3 years. Take us to the top in 3 years.
And then also something that, at least on my TikTok feed, I've been seeing is that he agreed to be the faculty advisor of the high school's first gay-straight alliance.
Love that for him.
In like 1997 or 99.
Yeah.
Wow, that's right.
But it was before the Democrats were even on board with gay marriage.
It was. He said he did it because he just didn't like seeing students get bullied. And he's like, I'm a straight guy who was like in the
football,
army.
Like coaching football. So it like needed to come from him so that people would get on board.
So responsible.
So what's his big 3, Dana?
So he was born on April 6, 1964 in Cumming, Nebraska.
Aries.
Yeah, we don't know what time yet.
That
better
someone. His daughter Hope must tell us because we need to know his rising sign. I'm going to text
all my Minnesota friends and
you should be like, someone knows Hope.
So he has an Aries sun and an Aquarius or Capricorn moon, and the moon was in Capricorn until 4:24 a.m. the morning he was born, so it's probably Aquarius. But he's a Saturnian moon either way. So But he's an Aries sun first and foremost, which is so obvious. It's in a stellium with its ruler Mars and also his Jupiter. And so Mars is domicile in Aries and the sun's exalted in Aries. So he's always been a trailblazer. Aquarius is a sign of trailblazers. It's the sun's also related to our purpose and how we express ourselves. So he's very expressive. Mars is power, pursuit, action, impulse, and separation, which I think is important for distinguishing yourself as different from others.
Don't you think he's an Aquarius moon?
Probably.
He could be for the people,
Right?
That's exactly
he is for the people.
Yeah. Yes. But if it came out that he wasn't, I would, of course, look at the chart and find out why we were, wrong or whatever.
Right.
And okay, so Jupiter here too is supportive and optimistic and focused on growth and generosity. So it's not, just about him. He's about the world. He's about everyone. So also Aries, this energy is brave, confident, and competitive. He's a born leader. His moon, again, in Capricorn or Aquarius. Either way, it's Saturnian. The planet of Saturn, of course, is limits, discipline, and austerity. Although I mean that not in the derogatory way, because I'm biased. Saturn is blockages, and the moon is what we need to feel secure and grounded. So either placement will experience obstacles in getting his needs met at some point in life. And his moon is most likely, again, in Aquarius, the sign of the water bearer. Aquarius moons are friendly, supportive, have solid boundaries, so able to help others without getting emotionally enmeshed and knowing their limits. So yeah, this is the moon for the people, literally the Aquarius being the collective. It's like, okay, sure, I'll be the host of the gay straight alliance. And then his natal Venus is in Gemini, twins, squaring his Saturn in Pisces. So Venus in Gemini is gregarious and connects by talking. And Saturn in Pisces is the phrase, you can't take it with you, when you die. So the square is challenging. It maybe is conflict avoidant, but it's committed to finding creative solutions. And in Gemini and Pisces, that's very possible. And Venus in Gemini also makes someone an excellent sidekick or second in command. And Saturn in Pisces sextiles his Mercury in Aquarius, which rules that Venus in Gemini. So he's, really good at creative problem solving. And maybe he plays music. Maybe we'll find that out. And then
he definitely loves music. He's like a very dad rock and roll type. I remember seeing a tweet from him that was like, shut up your local vinyl. And he gets upset when people don't get it into like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's so funny. Oh, yeah. He was talking about Bruce Springsteen or whatever.
Wait, that's actually surprising that Bruce Springsteen isn't.
Wait, was he talking? I feel like Bruce Springsteen is.
No,
I mean, it has to be.
Walz tweeted something like, does anyone have tickets for the Bruce Springsteen show tonight? Like asking for a friend because he wanted to go. He also has Uranus in Virgo, trining his Mercury in Taurus. And this aspect relates to innovative ideas and clever solutions. Trines are aspects of ease that are expressed naturally. Uranus is innovation and surprise. And Mercury is the planet of communication. It's how we translate ourselves and the world around us and translate ourselves to the world around us too. So this aspect is super interesting to me because he's famously passed a bill that gives free lunch to all students in Minnesota and public and charter schools. And Uranus in Virgo is health innovations, and Mercury in Taurus needs, to eat in order to think clearly. So it's sort of, let's get these kids fed.
I love the picture of him signing that bill with all those happy kids. Yeah. It made me cry almost.
I know, he's so jolly.
I'm also just like, why is this so progressive to just give kids meals at school?
I know.
So sad.
Or like how he just stopped his speech to give someone a bottle of water or make sure they got a bottle of water. And somebody was
I
like,
didn't see that.
Why are we like so surprised at this?
I know. Well, because like human decency is gone. But so Tim is teaching and he's in the National Guard and he decides to take some of his students to a George W. Bush rally. And he got really pissed off because the security guards there were being jerks to the students because one of them saw a Democratic candidate sticker on one of the students' wallets. And they were just like really not cool about it.
So Tim volunteers for the person who was on that sticker, who was John Kerry. He then decides to get into politics for real, and he wins his first election to the United States House of Representatives in 2006, and then was reelected for another 5 terms.
Hell yeah. And then, as we mentioned, he was elected governor of Minnesota, and some of the policies he's known for, like Dana mentioned, free school meals, some tax modifications, bolstering state infrastructure, universal gun background checks. He himself is a gun owner, codifying abortion rights, free college tuition for low-income families, and of course,
they were the first state to codify abortion rights after Roe v. Wade.
Hell yeah.
Was struck down.
And also putting menstrual products in girls' bathrooms in schools. People were calling him Tampon Tim.
That's so
which,
weird.
You know what? He's proud of, which
You'll
I
never
love.
outrun being weird, JD.
Yeah, you'll never outrun it.
So some other things, like his stances and views on other things when it comes to Israel and Palestine, he condemned the attack from Hamas on Israel. However, he thinks that the whole situation is a humanitarian crisis. And he says that people who are protesting against U.S. funding of the war in Gaza have a right to be heard. And he also just says you could hold like competing thoughts, that Israel has the right to defend itself and that the atrocities that happened to them on October 2nd are unacceptable, but that Palestinian civilians being caught up in all this has also got to end. And he supports a ceasefire in Gaza.
Yes, which is very important that he took a stance on it. So
he'll take a stronger one if he's elected.
That's true. That's true. And he also signed laws banning non-compete clauses. He mandated paid sick leave for employees. He guaranteed workers some of the strongest protections against wage theft. And he is a strong supporter of LGBTQ rights, including federal anti-discrimination laws on the basis of sexual orientation.
So now that we know about him and his policies, let's talk about why he's so well known today. And that is the word weird, a word Jupiter is in Gemini. We're talking about words here. So he was on an interview with MSNBC, and he is the one who's credited for first publicly describing Trump and JD Vance as weird. And weird is such like a simple word, but it really became this huge cultural meme-worthy moment, especially with TikTokers. And then it was adopted by the Democrats, which honestly is hilarious that they had no real stance. And then they're like, yeah, I guess our stance is just calling people weird now.
It also, wasn't there something where Kamala saw Donald Trump and she was like, why are you moving so weird? But yeah, I feel like there's a unison of all of a sudden finally being like, okay, obviously they're weird. Anyway, sorry.
And so his exact
talked all week.
This is his exact quote. He said, "These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen to how they talk about things." So, there he is. So what was happening when he had this spectacularly weird interview?
I don't know exactly when the interview happened, but he tweeted it on July 23rd, 2024 at 10:27 p.m. from Minnesota. And the sun was in Leo, and the moon, Saturn, and rising are all conjunct in Pisces. So the sun is in Leo, is the star of the show, and it relates to purpose and, the ruler. But it's in the sixth house of service. So it's, not really about necessarily shining for yourself. And it's opposite Pluto in Aquarius, which is the first time Pluto in Aquarius is opposing the sun in Leo since 1797. And the sun is the king and Pluto is destruction and transformation. So this is him challenging the opposition and sort of changing the tone, right? He's like, what is going on? JD Vance is so insane. And the moon in Pisces is ruled by Jupiter in detriment in Gemini. So the moon in Pisces is solemn and Jupiter in detriment is like, we need to do something. So Jupiter in Gemini also, Jupiter's victory, Gemini is a sign of the twins or the partner. It's second in command. So I think Jupiter in Gemini really reflects a presidential race that is as much about the running mates, if not more, than it is about the candidates, which it sort of is, at least on my corner of social media or Twitter. And Jupiter in Gemini is also about winning by clowning your opponent with words, right? So you sort of find what's it called? Like the screw within them that is loose, and then you just turn it until they feel rattled. And okay. So looking at this on his birth chart, Mars is conjunct his natal Venus. So this is active connection, going to war. Venus-Mars conjunctions are famous for going to war. And then the North Node is conjunct his natal Mars. So this is how I knew he was going to win. I mean, this is what I looked at the day before when they were in talks about who it was going to be between Bashir, Shapiro, and him. So the North Node is increase, Mars is action and assertion. The North Node only crosses your Mars every 18 years. And the North Node increases these Martian energies. Or martial energy. So, right, the going for it, and that's significant because his Mars rules itself as well as his sun and Jupiter. And the North Node transits are reflective of new and intimidating experiences. So going from being a local politician, state politician, to being famous, world famous or America famous. And his progressed Venus retrograde is in Cancer, conjunct his natal North Node. So this influence lasts a few years and it's really significant for now. And I like this because America, the Declaration of Independence, has a Cancer stellium. So to me, it shows that he could be the one who does sort of heal things, hopefully not just attitude-wise, and actually gets things done. He can also not just be our fun dad, but also be our fun mom. And Jupiter is transiting his progressed sun in Gemini and his natal Venus. So Jupiter expands these energies. He would be, getting more attention, more, star power, but also in Gemini, it's like you're the vice president, but you can, get just as much sort of done. It's also good about being supportive. And his progressed moon in Aries activating his natal Aries stellium. So I don't know exactly what degree it's at, but it's just sort of like this is his time.
So for the moment, it does seem like young voters are pretty into him, but Tim does face some criticism. One of the things that people aren't too jazzed about was during the George Floyd protests in May 2020, he was criticized for a delayed response in deploying the Minnesota National Guard.
And he also came under scrutiny when he implied that he had seen combat during his National Guard service. He was deployed, but he was never in active combat. But I think that was just a miscommunication.
I also don't care if he wasn't.
Also, the NRA doesn't really like him because of his stance on gun control, because he wants to have an assault weapon ban. So the NRA is like, fuck you.
That's great. I want anyone who has an F rating from the NRA to be in politics. But during COVID, there was also a $250 million fraud scheme involving federally funded nutrition programs that he was sort of vaguely connected to. And people in Minnesota weren't thrilled about the fact that he implemented what they were calling a NARC line for lockdown, where you could call and say your neighbors were violating COVID policies.
That is a NARC line. That's funny.
That is a pure NARC move.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some criticism around him, but it clearly was not that bad because Kamala endorsed him to be her running mate. So what was going on when she announced him?
This was August 6th, 2024, and the sun is domiciled in Leo. The moon is in Virgo, conjunct Mercury retrograde and Venus, which is in fall in Virgo. So this is right after the new moon in Leo, which had a graceful sextile to Jupiter. It's a great time to announce new ventures, especially in Leo, the sign of the king or the ruler of the nation, and then the moon moves into Virgo. In ancient times, people waited until the day after the new moon or whenever the moon was first visible in order to do their new moon things. This is sort of that. But the moon also in Virgo is, of course, about service. So the moon in Virgo is practical, and Mercury retrograde in Virgo is accomplishing things in days that usually take months. Venus in Virgo is critical and scrutinized, so nothing goes unnoticed. And it's also the lunar opposition from when he posted the video calling conservatives weird. And the sun is conjunct Venus. So lunar oppositions are culmination points. So that's just even tracking a lunar cycle from when something climactic happens could be a way to tell you what's going on or when the next big point will happen, the next incident. And transiting moon, Mercury retrograde and Venus in Virgo are all conjunct his natal Uranus and Pluto. So Uranus is shock and innovation and Pluto is major transformation. Virgo is a sign of health and service. This reflects his relatively meteoric rise in rank. And Venus is opposite his natal Saturn in Pisces. So Venus is in fall in Virgo and feels humbled or, humbled to be chosen, even though I'm assuming that's what he wanted. But yeah, Venus in fall is like, am I worthy? And then transiting sun in Leo trines his natal sun in Aries. It's a fire trine. He restored energy for his party.
Yeah.
He restored energy to Dana.
Yeah, that's true.
It was so dejected. I couldn't even watch the debate. Someone called it like the elder abuse hour.
It literally was.
It's a great time to step into the national spotlight, during this fire trine. And transiting sun is domicile in Leo and his natal sun is exalted in Aries. Trines are aspect of ease. This is just, it's full of life and he's restoring life.
Love that. So obviously Tim and Kamala are running together. So what is their synastry?
So synastry time.
Synastry hour. Kamala was born on October 20th, 1964 at 9:28 p.m. And she has an Aries. She's a Libra sun, an Aquarius or an Aries moon and a Gemini rising. So Tim's Jupiter is conjunct Kamala's moon in Aries and sextiling her ascendant in Gemini and Saturn in Aquarius. So Jupiter is generosity and the moon is security. This is a wonderful aspect for running mates and also enhances their confidence in each other. But then Saturn anchors it. It adds security and commitment. Tim's Saturn in Pisces is conjunct Kamala's midheaven. So Saturn is commitment, the midheaven's career and public figures. He's committed to her vision and he's not, trying to outshine her, which I think they said they were worried Shapir was trying to do. And their Mars trine each other. So Kamala has Mars in Leo, Tim has Mars in Aries. It's a fire trine. That's also where the suns were, when they announced it. So it's perfect. The suns were on their Mars. They have an action plan. They have similar attack styles. They're good at sort of being entertaining. They were memes before they were candidates.
That's true. They are like the meme candidates of this election, or just like elections in general. But I, as an Aries, I always love being with Libra. I feel like they match my freak.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I just feel like they match each other's freaks in a good way.
They'll balance each other out.
Yeah. The Aries Libra is just, it's perfect.
That's beautiful, Elise.
Thank you.
And then Tim's Mercury in Taurus is opposite Kamala's Mercury in Scorpio. And so oppositions are aspects of conflict, and the Taurus-Scorpio axis is the axis of trust. So this is about establishing security at both ends of the spectrum. Kamala is more austere than Tim, who prioritizes comfort and personal safety or security. And I like that his Mercury is in Taurus because it's America's 6th house of public health. Hers is in the 12th house of jails, and she was a prosecutor. So,
Again, another 6-12 balance.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably going to have many more public health crises in the future. And it'd be great for someone to prioritize Americans.
Also, his Aries stellium is in America's 5th house of children. So maybe maybe if he's in office during the end of the Chiron in Aries, we'll have better policies for children, including child influencers and, maybe, school policies and whatever.
Yeah, like free, affordable childcare. Like, come on, if anyone can get it going, it's Tim.
Free.
But anyway, we are normally this point in the episode, we'd be doing predictions, but we're going to save that for the Patreon. So you'll have to subscribe to our Patreon if you want to hear Dana's predictions for this crazy, unprecedented presidential race. So head over there, just $5 a month, and you get a lot of cool content. So with that, I'm Elise.
I'm Dana.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Allegedly Astrology.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.